my name is Eric Santoli, and I always kind of introduce myself as a painter and a teacher. And yeah, so specifically, the reason I reached out is we're currently just about to premiere a new public television series, which is called Eric on Plein Air, and it is kind of a conjunction between art and travel and all the things that make plein air fun and creative and enjoyable. And it's going to be premiering in early June. Uh, the date we have right now is June 2nd, and it's been quite a journey, I guess, to get to this point. And I definitely love to talk about all the weaving that I did to land where I am.
Eric, not to sound irreverent, but there are a lot of plein air painters out there. How did you land this gig with PBS?
Yeah, so that's definitely it's an interesting story.
The Plein Air Easton Podcast is brought to you by the Avalon Foundation, enriching the lives of those on the Eastern Shore of Maryland through the arts. Visit avalonfoundation.org for details on events, performances, and educational programming offered throughout the year.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Plein Air Easton Podcast. I'm Tim Wagon with
Marie Nuttall.
And we are here today to bring you another episode of the Plein Air Easton Podcast. I wanted to say this real quick before you talk about this episode, Marie.
Yeah.
If you are thinking about coming to Plein Air Easton, or you've talked about it, or you're going to come again, make sure you come this year. It's going to be another great year for Easton. I think it's July 10th through the 19th. Is that what it is this year, Marie?
Yes, that's correct.
So, as I've said in years past, and I think everybody around the whole staff has said it, if you're into art, if you're a collector, if you're a painter, or just enjoy it, the East Coast, the Plein Air Easton Festival every July is the place to be on the East Coast, I think, for the country.
Hands down, no matter if you are a collector, a painter, a fan.
And Marie runs it all. We're lucky to have her. And Marie is the one consistent force in this podcast. She's been here doing this for a long time as well. Marie, who are we talking with today?
Today we talk to Eric Santoli, who this is kind of a different podcast interview for us because he is not a Plein Air Easton alumni or an artist or a gallery owner. He is an artist in his own right who has filmed a PBS special called Eric and Plein Air that is debuting in June. He's going to be recording his second season in July, and he's going to come to Easton and give a demo, possibly presentation on his residency in France.
Yeah, and he did 6 episodes of that show for PBS.
Yeah,
that is not easy, as we were saying. That is not easy to get. So listen to his voice and see what you think. I mean, PBS loved him, right?
Yeah, we're excited. There's a Plein Air series.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he reached out to you is even a nicer touch.
Yes. So he will be here this summer. So we can learn more about his show and about his experience and about him as a teacher.
And he offers some great insight for as a teacher and for anybody who's experienced or novice painter. In addition to talking about his show on PBS, this is Eric Santoli on the Plein Air Easton Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to go for an artist residency at Monet's estate, which are gardens and a beautiful house that was restored in the 80s. And it's in a village in France called Giverny. I'm sure a lot of artists know it or have been there and know those iconic water lily ponds and those rose arches and things like that. And that opportunity, to this day, I'm actually still not quite sure how that came about, because my name got put into a group of artists that were chosen, and I was invited to apply. The way they do it now is a little differently, and I definitely love to speak further about that. But I had this art residency, and I was away for 3 months, and I was painting multiple times a day in Monet's garden. It was like a dream. I can't believe that I did that, but it was
That's really
beautiful.
special. Yeah.
I know.
And so anyway, I started the story there because when I was there, during kind of just some downtime, I was just networking with people, and I wrote an email to a show host it's a show I really love, and it's called Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, and it's on public TV, and it's been on for a while, and I always loved the show, but it's a garden and floral design show, and he does the show with his family. It's a beautiful show. So I was wondering if he wanted some kind of behind the scenes garden photos from Monet's garden, because I was there alone, which is kind of rare to be in those gardens on your own. There's usually a lot of tourists. So I took these photos that I just did for fun, and I sent them to him, and I said, if you want to share these with your audience and just enjoy them, please go ahead and do it. And he wrote back, and then we kind of just started talking about doing a guest appearance on an episode of his program, which is filmed in Michigan. I'm in New Jersey. But flash forward a year after that, in 2024, they flew me out, and I was a guest, and it was a lot of fun, and we filmed it, but I didn't think it was gonna, I guess, transpire into something further. But yeah, after that, we started talking about maybe doing an art and travel show. Not that this would be the first ever art and travel show. There's been other artists who have done it.
Right.
But we filmed the pilot just about a year ago, in April of last year, and it kind of got a good feedback. So we filmed the first season, which we did mostly at the end of 2025, and then I guess that's where we are now. It was more personal networking, and just kind of got picked up that way.
Yeah.
So, Marie, we've seen a lot of plein air here in Easton.
Yes, we have.
21 years, 22 years?
22 years this year.
How long is your segment of your show, Eric? Is it half an hour or an hour long?
It's half an hour, and then the runtime is about 27 minutes.
I think one of the first things we learned about plein air when Alan just did that video years and years and years, 21 years ago, was what a lonely sort of singular existence it is to be a painter even. How do you keep the show interesting?
Yeah, so each show is a combination between art instruction, so it's very practical principles of art, which all artists really kind of share in common, and so it's techniques and art practice and principles, and that the way I do that is from doing a demo, and the demonstrations can be in watercolor or oil painting. I really like both, so for me, I didn't want to limit the show just as a watercolor show or an oil painting show. And one of our programs, we do charcoal drawing, which is the artists know, drawing is sort of the heart and foundation of painting. So the demo is definitely part of it, but then each location that we visit, we meet with either one or more guests who can teach us about the area we're in, if it's a nature preserve or a historic estate or a garden center. So we have a demo that runs throughout the length of the show, and then we take breaks in between, and we say, we're going to talk to the head horticulturalist of this area, and then we go back to the painting, and by the end of the painting, we have a plein air demo. So my total painting time is probably over an hour, but it gets condensed down, and we take out the parts that are most instructive and kind of beneficial for other artists.
That is so awesome.
That's great.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really special. And are you a star now? Are people recognizing you?
It hasn't premiered yet.
It hasn't premiered.
This is like The Office, when The Office was getting ready to premiere there on their show.
I definitely don't count this, but in my hometown, sometimes I get recognized as, hey, you're an artist. Like, I've seen your poster around or things like that.
Nice.
And we have a local Blix, which is not too far away from where I live in northern New Jersey, and somebody saw one of my YouTube videos there and said, "Oh, I saw your painting demo on YouTube," which is funny because it's such a small channel, but it was just serendipitous. He said hi and thank you, and I said, "Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you got to see it and enjoy it."
I guess another question about the show, and again, not to be irreverent, did you grow the stash for the show, Eric?
You know what?
'Cause
It's
it's
so
very
funny.
would be predominant on TV, I imagine.
You know what's so funny is I started growing it maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I just did it because I don't know. I kind of
Right around the
like
time you started painting in Monet's garden.
it was, I didn't have it then, and then I started growing it, and I just did it because it's I guess it's kind of fun. It's just like something quirky. I've always liked kind of things from the past,
Yeah.
and you see old-timey photos, and maybe there's a guy with the handlebar mustache,
And a bowler
and
hat. We have to
Yeah.
get you a bowler hat.
Looks great.
so I gotta send you guys a photo because I just joined a vintage baseball league, and they play in and around New Jersey, and it's a like a organization that does good. So people who come to the game, they can buy things, and then that gets donated to organizations. But it's a lot of fun, and I played baseball growing up, but I waxed my mustache, and it was like the perfect
Perfect.
fit, that mustache in there. And I guess it's kind of a brand thing that, like Bob Ross had that shirt,
Yeah, there we
and
go.
there.
Well,
But I guess
Claim
it
it. I
helped
love it.
stand out.
just real quickly, we had a vintage baseball league here too. I think we played the guys from New Jersey years and years ago. It was 1864 rules
Yep,
baseball,
that's the rules. No gloves.
no gloves and all
They're
kinds
not
of.
around anymore. I thought they were still
That they
around.
might still be playing. You might play a team from Easton. I think they are. I mean, I don't know if they're affiliated with the historical society anymore, but I think they still do play. But you have to have a
It's a
nickname.
lot. You
Yeah,
have to have a nick. My nickname was Stash.
stash. Okay, good. Just bring it back around.
By the second inning, I had that, but it was a lot of fun. And my brother came, and we played together, and people came, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a good way of getting people to do something a little bit different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a
absolutely.
lot of fun. And when you get into town, remind me. I've got a great story about 1864 baseball. When you come into town for Easton, I'd like to tell you. It's a little too long for the air right now. It doesn't make any sense with a
Sure.
plein air show. But Marie, he's coming to Easton.
Yeah. So, before we talk about Easton, I do want to talk about your like origin story. Like, have you always been painting since you were a toddler? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, my mom's side of the family has artists that go quite a ways back, and my mom herself is very artistic, and she knits and crochets and has a great eye, and her sense of color is amazing. So, um, and my dad's side is Italian. So, oh, and my mom's side is Dutch. So I think those are good painting countries to have.
Right.
But yeah, so growing up, we had a lot of exposure to painting and drawing, and I drew a lot of. I was really into cartooning.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, growing up, I loved drawing cartoons. And as I got a little bit older and I got into high school, I had a painting class, and it was an acrylic painting class, and the teacher was just phenomenal. It was like one of these moments where the teacher opens the door and changes your life.
Oh, wow.
She really did that for me, and I really started. I don't really know what I would be doing if I didn't choose that or go down that road. Um, but I soon fell deeply, deeply in love with painting, drawing, learning about it, the history of it. It just became this segue into it. And so I ended up going to kind of two schools, the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts,
Okay.
which is the first art school in the US. And they have a joint program with the University of Pennsylvania. So it's two really great schools. And I was very privileged. I got to study painting and drawing, and also art history, and I took some writing courses, and I took a stage design course, and did a lot of fun stuff. Um, and so I did that joint program, and then I graduated, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I think that's kind of common for a lot of people graduating art school and school in general. But I started teaching through some family friends who were professors. They said, you know, Eric, you enjoy describing things and you're sharing knowledge. You might want to try teaching. So, and honestly, up till that point, I hadn't thought about becoming a teacher and doing it, but I started teaching art history,
Hmm.
which art history is so fun because it's just like a big long story, and there's so many different ways you can explore it and learn about specific time periods. So I started teaching that, and I ended up teaching that for about 6 years at a local community college, all the while still painting and drawing and doing kind of my own things, doing a lot of plein air work just because I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Um, and then I took a trip in 2018, my first time to Europe. I took a trip to Spain, and I saw the Museo Sorolla, which is kind of the home of Joaquin Sorolla. And Sorolla, he's kind of a big name in Spain, but maybe less a name in the U.S. Although artists definitely know him. But yeah, I fell deeply in love with his work,
Hmm.
and this sort of spontaneous, bold, get outside, just paint and throw the paint around. So it opened a lot of doors for me. Prior to that, I was really into like Vermeer and Bouguereau and those sort of like more academic artists, who I still love, but they're not as, I guess, spontaneous. And then I ended up doing the art residency in 2023, and that was great. It opened a lot of doors, and I still can't believe I did it, like I said. But
Yeah.
I graduated in 2024 from the Florence Academy of Art, which is, they have a master's program. If anybody's looking for a master's degree and a really solid art training, the Florence Academy of Art in Florence is really great. Um, yeah, so and that kind of catches up to, I guess, what we're doing now with the PBS program.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.
That's a lot of good fortune there to land that PBS job is not a simple thing. I mean, they're very particular about what they put on their air. So congratulations on that. That's wonderful.
Oh,
And
thank you.
thanks for reaching
Yeah.
out to Marie so we could talk to you. We're going to talk to you more. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with Eric Santoli. This is the Plein Air Easton Podcast.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about or ask you about is how or when you heard about competitions, or if that was ever interesting, if you were ever like, what the world?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, when I was even in school, I knew that there were competitions and plein air events. I was a little late to the game on them, and the first time I attended was actually a year ago. I went to Saranac Lake in the Adirondacks,
Hmm.
and it was a week. Um, that was something like Plein Air Easton, you applied for it, and they gave housing, and it was a lovely time. And I had never been to that part of New York. So I I love the idea. I know maybe people have different opinions, but I think a healthy motivation is kind of, not, I don't know if competing is the right word, but just saying like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, I'm going to try to do that too. And, kind of sharing ideas. Um, in Italian, they had a better term, like a Renaissance term called paragone, which was these Renaissance masters, without one another, they wouldn't have reached the heights that they did individually, because they were saying, oh, you did this, I'm going to do this, and then you did this, I'm going to do that.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
yeah, Monet. It's an interesting concept. It's not, in any way bad. It's just, spurring each other on to try to do better things. So I think in that regard, getting together with a group of plein air artists and saying, "Hey, what did you work on?" "Oh, I did a big painting." "Oh, I want to do a big painting."
Yeah.
Um, I think stuff like that is really great. So I love the plein air events, competitions, the quick draws. We did a nocturne, which was a lot of fun. I'd never done that before. Um, at the hotel in Saranac Lake. And but yeah, I'm trying to, I guess, get out there more. I've been a little bit shy, and sometimes I get a little shy about my work. I don't, I guess maybe a lot of artists feel that way, that putting it out there is a little bit intimidating sometimes.
Sure.
But the more you do, and I've found this just for me, the more I do it and share and connect with people, and the more the more I can learn, and the more, maybe I could share ideas with someone. And but living in a cave or something, I was um only kind of just shying away from it. So it's better to be out and share things, and you can meet amazing people when you're out and painting, and other artists, and just people coming by. It's just, that's an amazing thing too.
Yeah, I love that. We do spend a lot of time at Plein Air Easton, really um, kind of nurturing especially the new artists that are here, and pointing out things like that. Like grab a mentor, be social, come out with the other artists, share ideas, hang out in your lax time. We're always trying to encourage the new people to embrace the all of the years and years of experience that is here.
Yeah, I think for me that shows up. I mean, I don't organize it like you do, but for the plein air, for the quick draw, I mean, I tell people all the time, tell people all the time, like, put it out there. Just go ahead and put your stuff out there. Put it up. Let people see it. That's, I mean, just let them put it, show it. Just go ahead and do it. And I think that there's a small amount of growth incrementally through that process. I mean, I guess the other side of that, Eric, is like, have you ever teaching anybody who just can't get it? Like me, I just can't get it. I just can't. I can't figure it out. I don't know how you guys do it. Do you ever run into that?
Well, the thing is that there's sort of a myth about art making in particular, that you're born with it or you're not. And I kind of take it as a mission to try to bust that as much as I can, just because I'll give an example of, if I picked up a guitar. I don't play guitar, but if I picked up a guitar and started trying to play, I would probably be pretty bad, and I wouldn't know what I'm doing. Um, I wouldn't be Jimi Hendrix, in one day. But what ends up happening is, it's like a language too. So learning a language is not all or nothing kind of day and night process. And even still, I mean, we're learning new words, speaking a language, and it's amazing. But if you take someone who has an open mind, and you can prepare them with principles of art. So for me, painting comes down to a couple of things. It comes down to shape, which is drawing. It comes down to value, and then it comes down to color. I put value before color. Value is just dark and light. So if something's very dark, it has a darker value, and a light is a lighter value. And then those three, you could call them principles or elements. If you can instruct someone, and also keep in mind, it doesn't have to be purely representational too. A lot of people in the plein air world are representational artists, but art making, there's no rules. So there's no right and wrong to say, okay, Tim, you have to do this way, and that way. But I think it's a mindset. It's, if you have a kind of a desire and you really want to learn. I've seen a lot of my students are brand new to painting, and it's a beautiful thing, because they have this open mind. They don't think in terms of what they should and shouldn't do. It's like a young child. They have more of maybe a curiosity and an openness. So, but if you can take someone like that and just sort of guide them like a teacher teaching a language or guitar, um, then you could really you can do anything. It's just about that. So I could very easily,
He could teach you. He could teach you,
you
Tim.
know,
That's what he's saying.
yeah.
He's saying he can
I'll
teach
be
you.
waiting.
You're teachable.
But it's definitely, I don't think that it's always an easy road, right? Like if you're trying to learn something, and painting is very simple, but it's very challenging. So the idea is very simple. I'm going to take some paint and put it down on the canvas, but the simplicity is deceptive because it's so challenging. And I think artists, the further along you go, the more you realize, oh boy, this is a real rabbit hole where palettes and colors and the way colors mix is infinite. Um, but yeah, so all of that. But I will tell you something. So I've done the best I can, and I'm actually colorblind. The term is
No
color
way.
deficient. So I always say to people, if I could do it, I could mix color, then anybody can, because it's just a process and you can learn it.
Yeah. But you also learn a colorblind. I don't even want to use that word, but you also you have to retrain your colorblindness, right?
Yeah. So, and technically the term is color deficiency. There
Mhm.
are people born who cannot see color at all. They see a monochromatic view of the world. But yeah, traditional color deficiency is less that, and it's hereditary. So it's passed down. My grandfather was colorblind. I have a brother who's not. But it's a process. And so for me, I focus a lot on value. But I think value, and this is not my own thought, but value is sort of predominant over color. You have to get the value right before you get the color. So it's just, but it's like anything, you can learn it,
Yeah.
but it may be a little bit more, you know, challenging if you have something like that, if you're color deficient.
Yeah. Pushes your edges more.
Well, I just looked at your paintings, especially the ones from Monet's garden, or not especially, but I looked at those first.
And he doesn't believe you.
And I mean, I know it's green and reds, and that is a lot of green in there. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you? I think you kind of just explained but how do you know it's green?
Yeah, so it's definitely it's an interesting thing, and I've always tried to kind of describe it to people because I guess I don't know what exactly I'm seeing because I've never seen how the color is supposed to look or looks to anybody.
Right. You're just
Um,
going on based what people are telling you. That is
That's
green.
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's what you do. You ask someone the color.
Sometimes I do, like I said,
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
I
He
will
knows
ask.
what's in the tube, like it says on the tube.
The tubes are always good, but I can see a pretty wide range, but once again, it wouldn't be something at all. Like normally sighted people can see a much broader range of color. Although I will say, I think there's a flip side that helps in a way because I don't get overwhelmed by focusing too much on the color. I think I can maybe focus more on the.
Oh.
And as a side note, interesting about color vision, everybody sees color differently.
Yeah.
It depends on the cones in your eyes. So some people have a higher developed sense. Generally, females have a higher developed sense than males. Just generally, it's just a generalization. But everybody, no matter who you are, will see color slightly differently. And it can be based on your culture as well and your language. So there are other parts of the world where color language is a little bit different, and they may see a color as green, although we would call it maybe blue. So there's different linguistic effects that have to do with color too.
Mm.
Gotcha.
So tricky.
It doesn't really matter.
Tell me, one of the segments that we do is, do you have any stories or anecdotes or funny comments that have happened to you behind your easel
Yeah, definitely.
while you were
So
painting?
one story that kind of sticks out is when I was in Monet's garden in Giverny, I was painting there in the morning period. So I would get up kind of before dawn and go to the gardens and paint until the tourists started to come in around usually around like eight in the morning.
Okay.
So I got a couple hours before they would visit, and then I would paint again in the afternoon or evening.
Okay.
But there were definitely some pretty funny comments, because sometimes the tourist groups would come in early and I wouldn't be cleaned up yet, and I would have my easel out and I would still be painting. And so I one that sticks out is someone, and I wasn't sure, maybe they didn't know I spoke English, or who they thought I was, but some figure in the garden just painting is kind of interesting. So they said, "Oh, is that Monet's grandson over there? Look, it's Monet's grandson." So that cracked me up. And there were some other visitors who were curious, "Oh, what are you doing? And what are you working on?" And I would say, I'm the artist in residence. So I live just across the street, and I'm here painting in the gardens, and but I think a lot of people kind of sometimes forget that these gardens were like a hub of artists. Monet was very inviting to other artists. He was very good friends with Renoir, Mary Cassatt.
Yes.
His stepdaughter was a painter, and he was also really good friends with John Singer Sargent. And so for me, that's one of my favorite artists. But you can imagine these artists were there and they were working, and so
isn't that so amazing that they were all just like hanging out, like the Plein Air Easton crew, just hanging
Yeah,
out.
that's right. That's right. But Monet was a good guy, right? He was a good guy.
So there are mixed
He wasn't a
descriptions.
Caravaggio, we know that. That's for sure.
So it is recorded that he was pretty temperamental, and he had sometimes bouts of depression and anxiety about his work, but he was very inviting, and he never taught. He was never a teacher. A lot of those other artists, Sargent was a teacher for a long time in London at the London Academy, but he was very, I think, welcoming, and I could see him as sort of a figure in the art world that wanted people to learn about art and to get exposure as artists. So whether he was temperamental or not, he did do a lot of good things for other artists.
Did he own that property, or was that?
It's an interesting story how it came about. He ended up moving there with his first wife in the late 1800s, and he lived there as a renter. But the property was originally a cidery, so it was an apple, and then they produced their own cider. And Monet's first wife passed away probably from tuberculosis, and he ended up marrying the wife of his friend, who they were all living sort of as a big family. The house is a pretty big house. And so he ended up purchasing the property later on, and he became very successful in his lifetime, particularly with American patrons. Very, he made a good living, and, he got to see himself rise out of being a struggling artist. But so that's how the property kind of developed, and he lived there for the rest of his life. And he passed away in 1926.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's great. You were so close to that. That's really that's a very fortunate situation for you. And then of course the PBS came out of it. So seems like you're on a good track here, Eric.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's sort of stacked. I think sometimes it can be difficult to pinpoint like a turning point in something, but that was definitely a springboard that allowed me to travel more and do more teaching and some really fun workshops. And but it's like if you keep painting, I really believe you can put the work in, and it can develop into something, if you tend to it.
I'm calling it right here, Marie.
Okay.
This is the next Monet right here.
I know.
Next
This
Monet.
is so exciting.
Monet's grandson.
That's what Tim's going to call you when he sees you.
That's a good nickname too. I'll take it. There's definitely
That and
worse.
Stash.
And when you were talking about, your painting on Monet's estate and the visitors coming, we have an event at Plein Air Easton that's called Meet the Artist.
Oh.
And we select an estate that will host the party for us. The guests aren't allowed inside of the house, so it's just mainly a gardens and grounds. But all the artists are invited to paint, and then the guests show up and they're still painting. And it is supposed to be a very Monet-esque type of event.
It is. It really is. I don't know if there's tickets to that, but if you're listening and you're looking to get into this movement or get behind Plein Air or just visit this year, that is just a one-of-a-kind event. It's really, really just a great time. And, I wouldn't call it spectacular, but it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And it reminds you of being in
the Gilded Age of Plein Air
They're huge
painting.
estates. I don't know how big the one was last year. It's hundreds of acres and all water and just all kinds of
all of them have been on the water. That's where all the pretty all the pretty property is around here is on the water.
There's a lot of it.
And there is
a lot of it. There's 700 miles of waterfront in the county, Eric, just so you know.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Wow. Yeah. That sounds great. And just a note on like sort of the interaction between people watching and then artists. People love seeing people making art, and the exposure of it and just getting out there. And I've had so many wonderful interactions with people. If you're set up somewhere, and it's just something I encourage. If you're a beginner or you're brand new, don't be shy, because I always kind of feel a little shy sometimes that, are people going to look at me? And it's like, oh, who's that painting? But people love it. People really love it. I think it's a positive thing, and it's a way of bringing more beauty into the world and just sharing it. So
absolutely.
I
need
think
it more than ever right now.
That's what the festival's all about.
So this has been fabulous, Eric. I have loved talking to you, and you and I are going to keep talking about we're going to have Eric on stage at Plein Air Easton headquarters during Plein Air Easton this year. He is so interested in what goes on.
Yeah, you're going to love it. You're going to be really impressed. I think you're going to really love the whole event. I don't know how soon you're coming down, but every day is it's all dedicated to painting and the arts. It's a really great experience. So, and he'll be famous by this time, folks. So make sure you get in here get into town quickly.
I know, because the series season 1 is premiering June
2nd,
around June 2nd. Eric and Plein Air.
Are you nervous about that? Are you nervous about that thing opening? Have you seen it?
A little bit.
How happy are you about it? Like,
are they paying you big bucks, Eric?
What's interesting?
Do not disclose.
No. And public TV is all non-for-profit, so you're never benefiting from the production.
Right.
But I'm so thankful, and the people I've met and the people who've helped me and supported me and my family and the everybody who's been a sort of a part of it, I have to thank them, because you can't do anything alone. And if you can meet people and build relationships, and it's not always one-sided, help people, and you can get help in return. Just reach out, say to people, oh, I'm trying to do this thing, is there any way that we could connect and share ideas? And that's been my motto, is just reach out. I love seeing people reach out and make things happen. And if one thing happens, and it could lead to another thing and another thing. So that's a good message. Just reach out to people, and if you need assistance with something or you want to learn something, just say it. People are generally want to help, I find.
That's a great message. Marie?
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited for your visit this July, and it has been such a pleasure learning more about you, Eric. What do you have to say, Tim?
I think I'm glad to see that the Plein Air is getting that kind of representation on PBS. I mean, that's exciting. So, and it's wonderful to meet the person who's behind it. And thank you very much. And
I know you've got fans. Woo, everybody.
You will be kind of a
All the
celebrity here.
Yeah, exactly.
I always tell people that if you're into art or an artist or any sort of thing like that, that Easton for those 10 days is the place to be on the East Coast for sure.
Exactly.
So you're in the right spot, and people will certainly be appreciative that you're here.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for the support. It really means everything. Like I said, we can't do it alone. And I can't wait to come and check it out and see everything and meet everybody and, connect with the other artists. And I'm honored, truly I'm honored. And, it's a big thing for me. So thank you.
All right. Awesome. Well, we will reconnect maybe next week. Yes. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Eric, thanks for being on. This has been the Plein Air Podcast. I am Tim Wigan with
Marie Nuttall.
And you've been listening to the Plein Air Podcast. We'll catch you next time. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
The Plein Air Easton Podcast is brought to you by the Avalon Foundation and was produced by Nick Richards. Our theme music was generously provided by Blue Dot Sessions. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. You can learn more about Plein Air Easton at pleinaireaston.com.